Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you guys doing today? I hope y'all are doing fine. I hope you're safe. I hope you're not sick. Hope you're healthy. I hope y'all are exercising every day and getting through life despite the current conditions. And I think these current conditions will lighten up rather sooner than later, because most of it's propaganda. That's right. Did you hear about was it the president of was it Tanzania or Zimbabwe? I forget where. He sent a couple of samples of material to the WHO to have it tested for the COVID-19 virus, and they both came up positive. That's really ridiculous. He already knows it's a sham, and he just wanted to be able to prove it. So the WHO laboratories, they kind of screwed themselves on that one, if you know what I mean. Welcome to Ahmad's topic, and in this video, I'm going to share about the 10 most common mistakes people make, and I'll also give you some examples as well when they speak English. I always notice the same mistakes, and if you're a highly educated English person or a person of English language, then you're going to know that people will commonly make mistakes when they're learning English. It's normal. So I always notice the same mistakes that you consistently make. Throughout my years of teaching English at language schools, university, public and private schools, these are all the same mistakes that a whole range of English learners make, from beginners right up through the most advanced level students. They're just really common mistakes that you keep making, and again and again. Sometimes it's difficult because the grammar is seemingly impossible to understand, but sometimes these mistakes have never been properly corrected for you. So they become bad habits, and they keep happening without you even realizing it, and that becomes a problem. If you don't see the mistakes you're making, then you can't fix them now, can you? So I want to help you do just that. I want you to see the mistakes that you're making, such as in your writing or in your class conversation, so among your peers, so that you can correct yourself. When you begin doing that, you'll naturally correct yourself when you speak. And the correct speech will become normal to you. And you'll quickly be able to help others and even explain to them why it is correct. Let's start with uncountable nouns. Here's my example. I have an apricot for you. Apricots are countable, right? Now, if you forget the a or the an that's attached to your noun, then that could be an issue, right? So let's say it incorrectly, for example. I have apricot for you. So that's totally called dropping the article. The article is going to tell us how many or what type or whatever like that. I have a piece of advice for you. And I've heard native English speakers even say this mistake. Is advice really a piece? Is it a part of something else? Well, it's kind of uncountable, isn't it? How many apricots do you have? How many apples do you have? Well, how much advice do I have? I have a few apricots for you. I have a little advice for you. So it's not just the noun that's important, it's what the noun affects. It affects many other words in the sentence that it's connected with. So using the wrong words in your speech is a really common mistake, which is it's way too easy to do without realizing your mistake. Perhaps you don't realize the particular noun is uncountable. Let's go with irregular verbs. These are difficult to master because there are no rules that you can learn which you could logically explain why one verb is regular and the other is not regular. What? This is probably another reason why Common English is a sham. The other reason being that there are multiple different legal definitions to words. And the one biggest reason is that most Common English is adverb-verb scenario. And in English class, we are taught to use adverb-verb, not realizing that modifying something changes its definition. Anyways, even though there are fewer irregular verbs than regular verbs, many irregular verbs are really common and you need to learn them. Look them up yourself while you're studying and write them or type them in your English note log or in your computer as a Word document. You can't escape them. You need to learn them. Another way to do that is copy paste. So you can go on the internet and look them up, copy, bring them over to Word, paste them, and learn them so that you can classify these kind of different words. Next, subject-verb agreement. It is as simple as it sounds. The subject must agree with the verb in the English sentences. They must match. Number 4, auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs do appear in simple sentences. Be and do. Do appears in simple sentences. Be appears in continuous sentences and passive voice. Have appears in perfect tense sentences. Articles. Number 5. Which one should you use? So if you say, "Give me that cup," then would it be this cup or this cup? So the article helps to express what is being referred to. The, a, and an. Articles probably cause the most headaches for English students. I do. The is the definite article. So if you say, "Hand me the ceramic mug, please," that is very specific and defined. Defined means definite, definite. So it's not finite, it's specific. And that's what D in front of finite means. A or an could be anything, right? The difference between the definite and indefinite, the funny thing is about the word indefinite, it means not finite, instead of just saying finite. So if it's not definite, it could be anything, right? Anything is finite. That's what you get when you learn English and you learn double negatives. Indefinite instead of just saying finite. Anyway, is the same as talking about a specific noun or a general noun, because it could be anything, right? Because it's not defined. Not finite. Prepositions. Preposition. Pre means before the position. Isn't it funny that the word preposition is a preposition. My English teacher used to say that as well. I remember that. In, on, at, by, above, with, for. For example, if your keys are in the car, the meaning is different than at the car. The meaning is different than at the car, right? But if the meaning is that you're in school, for example, then it's pretty much the same as being at school. Well, why is that? Because a lot of people don't understand the definition of school. School just simply means that people are doing a similar thing as the other people there are doing. Kind of like a school of fish. So if you're at the school of fish and you're doing the same thing as the fish, you could either be at the fish or within the area of the fish. So this is the reason why it's the same, because of the definition that it's attached to. So let's try this example. I had dinner with Mom Fifi at Mom Fifi's house. That was really specific, wasn't it? It's very different than I had dinner with Mom Fifi, because it could be anywhere. You see that, guys? Number 7, word order in questions. A common mistake is using the wrong word order when you're asking questions. We can go pray at Alaska this afternoon. Did you hear that question? If you didn't hear the question, it's because the word order was not correct and possibly the intonation was not correct. Rather than, so you could say, if someone's saying that, rather than, can we go and pray at Alaska this afternoon? So if you say it like that, can we, you're literally starting with the proposition of the question, can. Can we go and pray at Alaska this afternoon? And did you hear my intonation? This afternoon. That's like a lot of English people would usually say that, perhaps. And maybe even Americans. In Texas, we might say the sentence like this. Can we go and pray at Alaska this afternoon? So the word we is really emphasized. Can we? Why is that so loud? Because the intonation is really what's important. Can we? Can we is recognized. Can we? Can we go pray at Alaska this afternoon? Noon? Afternoon? Noon? So no matter whether it's your Texas, there are a lot of native English speakers from Texas actually in many Middle East or Eastern countries. And did you notice that no matter whether the accent is British English or Texas or Southern North American accent, it's very similar. Noon, noon. So noon lifts up that word and makes it kind of into a question. Because if you're lifting up the word, it's kind of like the proposition is what? It's up in the air. So you're lifting it up, making it elevated, making it a question. Because a question could have a number of answers below it. It's kind of like rain, isn't it? You know, when the moisture goes up into the air, it got to come down eventually, right? So when things are up in the air, they're questions we don't know the answers to. We don't know when it's going to rain or where it's going to rain, things like that. You get the point? So you hear all those questions, just talking about the rain. So many questions because it's up in the air. Got that? So getting the structure correct is important, but also getting the intonation is important if you want to sound like a highly educated, well-spoken English teacher or speaker. So try to keep the order A, subject, B, auxiliary verb, C, subject, D, main verb. A, B, C, D. Subject, word, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb. If you remember this order and use this order, your questions will always be correct in common English. Number 8, let's talk about present perfect tense. This is probably not a simple subject for newer learners of English, particularly because there is the present perfect simple and then there's the present perfect continuous. So you can use the words for and since with these tenses to express information about the concept of time. To express this, you'll need to add the subject first to the auxiliary verb have plus the main verb, the past participle. But in the present perfect continuous, there's the subject plus the auxiliary verb have, and don't forget the conjugate, the auxiliary verb, the conjugate auxiliary verb, depending on the subject. So conjugate means it's with a jug. Jug, have you ever juggled something? Jug means to be either or. Which one is in the air? Both are coming back down with the jug. Ate. The jug ate something, so something went in the jug. So it's a really interesting word. So the conjugate form of have is has, right? So depending on the subject you're talking about, she has a ball. They, the subject is changed with they. They have a ball. She has a ball. They have a ball. So that's why it depends upon the subject. Plus the past participle, the main verb, plus the ing, verbing. So that's when you know it is in the present perfect continuous. Cool. You ready for the next one, guys? We're almost done with these common mistakes. Number 9. Past simple or present perfect. This can be confusing because the present perfect tense is also about the past. Isn't that interesting? So why not just try to express yourself in the past simple? Well, to understand which tense to use, you'll have to think about the concept of timing and is time on my side or not? You have finished time and unfinished time. So last week is a great example of finished time. It's over with, it's done with, it's kaput. This week is a great example of unfinished time because the week is not over with yet, is it? No, it's not. Cool. Number 10, yo. Adjectives ending in ed or ing. So we know the ed is past tense and ing means something is happening, yo. This is the last but not the least common mistake I hear on the street, in the classrooms, online. You need to learn to recognize the difference between something that is ended when something ends or is still continuing. Like for this example, you look bored, or you look boring. Do you like that example? I know we usually feel bored. Feeling bored is common. You know, that means that our brain is not very stimulated at that moment in time. You know, we can make it more stimulated by forcing ourselves to think about what the teacher's talking about, even though it's not an interesting subject, perhaps. So the better way to say that is, you look like you're bored. Because if it's a proposition or a supposition you don't really know the answer to, but you're just reading their body language, yeah, you look bored is correct. You look boring is not correct, because you're putting a present tense situation with the continuous form of the word boring is to drill a hole. In that sense, you are drilling a hole right now. There's a hole being drilled in your head right now. You see the conflict of the definition? You look like you're bored. You could even say like you're bored, because there could be the possibility that your presumption is not correct. So if you think that there's a possibility that your presumption is not correct, then you should definitely include that in your sentence so that you can be factual and not make a factual statement. You know, leave the person some room, because it can really be agitating to the listener if he or she hears someone say that about them, which may not be true. So maybe they're sitting in the classroom and, you know, thinking about what what's her face said about what's his face. You know, things like that happen. So if you give somebody a way out, they're going to be a whole lot more friendly and more likely to open up to you and talk with you. You got that? Are you ready to practice with some examples? I think I have like 20 or 23, and I might come up with a little more. We'll see. Let's try, shall we? Let's dive right in. Number 1. And I'll also explain some of this later as well. She says to me, her life is perfect at the moment. She says me. So you're talking about something that happened in the past in this example. The conveyance of the message. She conveys to me. So you're saying that it's continuous, right? Says. You think it's continuous? She says says. Says means it's continuous. She says me. She continuously says to me, her life is perfect at the moment. I mean, if you said it like that, it might be correct, but better way to do that, guys, is to say, she tells me her life is perfect at the moment. Because now you're getting into what she said. At the moment is a specific point in time. And now that it's at the moment, it's at the moment that the question was asked or that she's thinking about, you know, in that situation. So it's already over and done with, isn't it? It's not continuous. So this is the reason why in this example it should be, she tells me. So the moment is in the now time. At the moment. She tells me the companies, let's go to the next example. The companies is working together. Number 2 example already. The companies is working together. So companies is plural. And I say companies is because the word companies is plural, right? Is. But if there's more than one company, it should be are. The companies are working together. Did you know that a lot of government is privatized? So governments, whether they're city or province, state, like that, or county, which are small municipalities, each of the city, county, or province or state and the country level of governments can invest into private corporations or public corporations. So if they're more than 50% invested, that means they're government owned. Yeah, so the United States government owns a lot of businesses. So they can do whatever they want with the economy just about, because they can control the businesses. They can tell them when to shut down and when not to shut down, right? And this is the reason why the governments have a lot of control about what happens. Now, in a country like Indonesia, however, the governments can shut the public schools down. They can't really shut the private schools down. It's really up to the private school. But for example, they can say, well, we're going to pull your ability to do business and take your license, your approval of business, away from you if you don't. So a lot of times the government knows how to put corporations or small businesses under political pressure through their media, because they own a lot of the media. China owns a lot of its media, even applications like Line and stuff like that. And anyway, guys, I got to get back to this subject here. I'm going to talk my head off. So how about this one? Anna are tidying up her room. Anna is only one person, right? So it should be is tidying up her room. That's another example. So let's kind of break this down, right? I am, you are, he or she is, we are, we're going to the masjid, we are going swimming, we are going to sing a song, he is going to dance, but we are going to sing a song. They are running in the street right now. They are flying a kite. 2 people flying one kite. They are flying a kite. Maybe one is holding the reel of string and suggesting to the other person about when to pull the string. Maybe. However, if you drop one of these articles, if you drop the am, the I am, not I am, but I am. If you drop the you are, if you drop the he or she is, or if you drop the we are, your sentence is going to sound really, really incomplete. In native English speakers recognize this immediately. It's a very common mistake. A noun needs a friend, right? You like to have your friends, unless you're an inverter. You're introvert, so that means you're inwardly focused instead of outwardly focused. Don't feel like you need any friends. You depend upon your own thoughts. And, well, you can still make mistakes because you're not communicating with the outside world. So it's really common for introverts to make a lot of mistakes in English. So dropping articles is really important to understand and get the grasp of and get those habits out of yourself. So when a client comes in for a haircut, I make them a cup of tea. You know, sometimes in the examples I automatically correct them. I'm so used to automatically correcting, but let's drop the article now. When a client comes in for haircut, I make them a cup of tea. Now, did you hear the word missing that time? A haircut. A haircut. Because when you go in for a haircut, you're going in to get it cut one time. One episode, right? Right. Next example. I have been learning English for 4.5 years. I have been learning English for 4 years. 4. So the 4 and the since are very, very important here, right? Since refers to a specific time that something started. So I often hear a lot of mistakes, you not knowing when to use for or when to use since. So get on top of that, guys. All right. Positioning of punctuation. So sometimes when y'all guys type something or write something out, you don't put the punctuation in the correct place. So instead of the word, instead of using the comma directly after the word and you're putting a space in between the comma and the word, that could be an issue, or you're using a quote instead of an apostrophe, or an apostrophe instead of a quote. So you have to be really careful with punctuation. It goes along with the same idea of crossing your T's and dotting your I's. I want all of you to get in the habit. Whenever you write your I's, dot your I's. If you don't dot your I's, it looks like a bloody L. So guys, dot your I's. Don't be lazy. This is, out of all the places I've taught, I think that Indonesia particularly is the worst for not dotting your I's. And sometimes, yeah, the full stops are left off. Full stops are a very, very common mistake. So, wow, I've already talked about, that's like 13 or 14 different common mistakes. So let's go to the next one. My son is 3 years old. See, I added the S. But if I didn't add the S, it's like dropping the article, because the article tells us how many. Well, I said the word 3. My son is 3-year-old. So some new speakers of English will commonly leave the S off, because with English there are a lot of words that you actually have to modify to make them fit and be a friend to the words around them. So I am 21 years old. I love saying that. I mean, if you're my age, then you probably love saying that too, right? I'm 21. So you never, ever say I'm 21 year old. I 21 year old. You may hear some new learners of English say it like that. So the M was dropped, and the S on year was dropped. I am 21 years old. In American English, the common English is 5.5 years old instead of 5 years and a half. I guess in Britain they might say that, but what's funny is the Britain people accuse Americans of saying things like that, but it's totally not true. It's like Osterfederholzim. What's wrong with them? Both are correct, but the first is more correct, at least in Texas, where I'm from, yo. Get it straight. Better get your story straight, by God. They enjoyed themselves at the party. Did you hear the mistake right there, guys? There is possessional plural, and selves is possessional plural. Why do you need two possessional plurals right next to each other? It's ridiculous. So it should be themselves. They enjoyed themselves at our party, hosted by Mom Fifi. Awesome, right? Oh, I love going to Mom Fifi's birthday parties. Have you ever been to one? They're awesome. Or the school birthday party. Oh my gosh, the school birthday parties are so fun, I think. Makes me want to go to school. I want to go to school so bad. Ah! Did y'all hear that the schools were starting back up in July? Oh, I hope that happens so soon. Better sooner than later. Today morning, she woke up late. Did y'all hear that? Oh my gosh, it's so obvious, isn't it? So the correct form of that sentence is this morning, not smorning, but this morning, she woke up late. Great. What's the difference? What's the difference between today morning and this morning? So what's the different? So the definition of different is different than the definition of difference. So difference means that you're definitely talking about two different subjects. There's a difference between the two subjects. Like in the previous example, there's a difference between today and this. This is like this tissue, this subject. Today is a different word. Today is the whole day. That's like 24 hours, y'all. All right. Next. All right. I have a free time. It's uncountable, right? Remember, time is a concept. So concept is it's like abstract almost. It's what we think it's real. We really think it's real. It's almost tangible. It's almost a noun. So it's a concept. The concept is the noun form. I guess you could say that time is it. So it's not countable. So it should be I have some free time. I have free time this afternoon. Let's meet then. Okay? The police arrested a thief 2 days before. Did you hear the mistake there? It's so obvious, isn't it? Before what? Before it rained? The police arrested a thief 2 days before. It's definitely an adjective because it's describing something. Before what? Before now? So there's a common mistake actually for learners of English here. So the correct form should be the police arrested a thief 2 days ago. And if you're talking about a specific thief from a specific event, then you're going to want to say the instead of a, because a Could be anybody, right? Right. But the, or it could be any event rather, but the refers to a more specific event. Isn't that awesome? Awesome. Cool. I must to take a bath. So we don't need the word to in there, do we? Because to implies that we're going from one thing to another. But whenever you take a bath, you're taking water and bathing yourself. So it's better to say, I must bathe myself. So you're going directly from the subject matter, I must, and then do what? Over to the verb, I must bathe myself. So bathe would be the verb there. But if you're going to say take a bath, I must take a bath soon. I smell awful. So if you're going to say it like that, you don't need the word to in there, do you? Don't, because to is a connecting word. You don't need to use a connecting word right there. Everybody have to be happy. Again, the word to, right? Everybody doesn't have to be happy. Remember, whenever you hear things like that, it's kind of unusual because as you guys get older, you're going to recognize that you experience happiness, you experience joy, you experience some anxiety sometimes if you're going to do something that you're really thinking about or that you've been thinking about for a while. So if you're going to do something that's challenging, or if something negative happens, maybe your kitten dies, and that's life, isn't it? Life is going to have its ups and downs, okay? So everyone cannot be happy all of the time. That's totally illogical. It's like you're dreaming or something like that, Even when I make these videos, I cannot be happy 100% of the time. Now, you can make it look like you're happy because that helps the viewer really peer into the subject matter. So if you can do things that will help your communication to listen to your listeners to listen to the subject matter, then absolutely do that. But does it really mean that they are happy when they express themselves in such a way? Absolutely not. So it's kind of like this. Being attractive can make you a better communicator, but it doesn't necessarily make you a happy communicator. See what I mean? Because happiness is going to have its moments. It's going to have its ups and downs. Its woes, as they say. Cool, guys. Everybody have to be happy, so we can change that to everybody should be happy. Nah. Let's change it to I hope everyone is happy. Because hope gives us some idea of positivity, something to reach forward to, doesn't it? Because we can't all be happy 100% of the time, but if you're talking about a specific event, like if you're going to have a birthday party, I hope everyone can be happy at a birthday party. So it's giving it some subject matter and really conveying the hope into the subject to be happy during a time, or while they're at the party, or while they're walking. I mean, I guess happiness can also be referring to a period of time in someone's life. So I am very happy in this period of time in my life. So I'm living in happiness. I'm very happy. So it's not necessarily talking about the emotion. So it's talking about the status of being, the situation of being at the moment, but not necessarily the emotion. That's very important. I'm very happy. I am. You know, the smile doesn't always come through on my face all the time, and all of your speakers are not going to have a smile like 100% of the time unless they're a little crazy or unless they're acting. So there are only two exceptions. Cool. The next is she's married with a doctor. That could be correct, yeah. Because you're saying the existence is in the present tense. She is married with a doctor. Nothing wrong with that, is there? The problem in saying something like that is sometimes people drop the S. She married with a doctor. I have heard that. I've heard native English speakers say that. She married with a doctor. Now, if you say that she married with a doctor 5 years ago, now you're giving some subject matter and you can get away with saying that, okay? So it's got to have something attached to it, I think, if you're going to say, state something factual like that. Next, I must to call him immediately. There's that word to again. To, so we don't need the to, guys. I must call him immediately. Well, don't tell me. Go and call him. So yeah, sometimes people say things instead of do things. You know what I mean? So next, where can I find a hotel? I think some people might say that instead of saying, where do I find a hotel? Where can I find a hotel? Well, wherever you look, not necessarily. Depends on where you look, all right? So with this example, there's not really any subject matter, or there's not really any time description on the sentence. Where can I find a hotel during this period of time, such as in the Adolfitri, in an isolated place like Jogja? So if we're looking for a hotel in an isolated place like Jogja, and you need a hotel, then you might want to ask someone, where can I find a hotel? So, on the next, we have kadang-kadang aku pergi ke perpustakaan setiap minggu. Sometimes I go to the library on the weekend. Sometimes I go to the library on the weekend. So that the S is dropped right there, right? Sometimes I go to the library on the weekend. The example was in the weekend, and whether you use on or in, they're both kind of prepositions, and you know, I might even consider both of them to be incorrect because you're using a preposition with the concept of time. Did you catch that? In, at. We do this all the time with the month or the day, or on the day, on. So you're using the preposition on instead of using words like during. Sometimes I go to the library during the weekend. It's much more perfect, actually, because there's no way out of that. There's no preposition. You know, there's literally an adjective to describe when. Okay? Although it was raining, but they went to the zoo. Did you catch that, guys? So this is like our last example. I think that's 24. Although all eight, when you have a AL, you have a vowel plus a consonant that means no. Although, that means not though it was raining, but. So the word but is opposite of not though, although. You hear that? But you already said kind of like a negative. But is kind of like a negative, and now all not though. Not though it was raining, but they went to the zoo. So you can totally get rid of but, can't you? Get rid of the but. Not everybody needs a but. Not though it was raining, they went to the zoo. You could also say it positively, I think. Though it was raining, they went to the zoo anyways. Nah. Better to say although, not though it was raining. Though it was raining. It's very positive, isn't it? Though it was raining, but they went to the zoo. It's not very common. Though it was raining. Although it was raining, they went to the zoo. So it's almost like you're saying, even though it was raining, even though it was raining, they went to the zoo. Because it's something they agreed to do, isn't it? So there's really nothing opposing it. Anyways, I hope you can get something out of that. Inshallah. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. And remember, if you can practice, write all these mistakes that you are aware of that you've made or that your friends have made, and try to figure out why they're wrong. And you can literally make a 2 or 3 hour practice session and learn English for free. Learn it on your own. I guarantee you guys, if you do the work that you're putting behind it, you're going to remember it, and you're going to be able to help other people to understand why they should say things in a certain way, in a certain order, not drop articles, and be more correct. And it's going to make you into a very highly educated English speaker. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for joining me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.